I want to just jump straight into this next story because this is about Breonna Taylor's mother. She's meeting with DOJ and demanding federal charges against the officers in the Breonna Taylor death. So this took place in 2020. This story is significant for a few reasons. One, it plays into the heart of what I've been saying over the past several weeks. Specifically, Trayvon Martin's story was fake. The Michael Brown story was fake. The George Floyd story was heavily lied about. The Ahmaud Arbery story, heavily lied about. All these stories, I say they're fake. I'll clarify. They were all extreme exaggerations and manipulations by the media to the point where in the George Zimmerman incident with Trayvon Martin, they edited the audio. I think it was NBC News,
NBC News, yeah.
They edited the audio to make it sound like he was racist. They cut out key context. They've done this for basically every single major story that's resulted in Black Lives Matter riots. And then when you try and get the real story, if you're able to get it, it's like all of a sudden you go, wow. Now, the interesting thing here is Republicans have a general polling advantage from Real Clear Politics of about 3.4 points, and with 530 at about 2.2 points. When Democrats have a 5-point advantage or less, they lose seats in the House. Republicans have an advantage, which is to suggest that people aren't falling for these stories anymore. Here's where it gets crazy. So we're sitting here with John Mattingly. You were there. You were involved in the whole incident. And the media and the activists are still lying about what happened, trying to put pressure on the government to make changes and to get certain politicians elected.
Right.
So we'll start here. Like, what's this story about? And then we can go back and we can get into the details.
Yeah. So this was just a couple of weeks ago. They went to D.C. Her and Ben Crump, the clown that
guy, yeah,
that runs around and destroying cities and takes his money and jets.
He's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess. It sounds
well, I mean, like,
he can barely put
formally
two sentences together. I don't know how he's a lawyer, but he just mumbles and jumbles when he talks. So they went there and they met with the DOJ. And the funny thing is, during all this, I requested meetings with the FBI. Denied. Wouldn't talk to me. They've met with them several times. And I'm thinking, well, how are you only talking to one side? That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So she went there and they talked about what's going on in the case. When are you going to do something? When are you going to do something? And the very next day, Katie Cruz was indicted by the feds, or 2 days later, it was a day or two later.
And who's Katie Cruz?
So Katie Cruz. So the day when all these riots started, the first night in Louisville, there were 7 people shot in the very first night of riots downtown. Boom, boom, boom. People were being just crazy. And so the next night, the police presence was still there. It was still heavy. Things were still out of control. The crowd had moved from downtown because they were blocking streets off and stuff to more toward the west end of Louisville. And we're at 26 and Broadway. There's a little store there it's called Dino's, and it's always been a super problem area. Shootings, robberies, drug activity, it's just out of control area. So, however, these people were no longer rioting because they were in their neighborhood. It was basically a huge block party. I mean, the people were shooting guns. They were doing illegal stuff, but they weren't causing destruction like downtown. They weren't, doing the things that would require police presence to be forceful. And so our department decided that they were going to send officers down there to clear it out. They were breaking the curfew that was enacted by the mayor, which I don't agree with those either. But so when they sent them down there to enforce this curfew and make all these people leave this lot, there was some activity going on. I think there were some gunshots right down the block, and 2 other crews, from what I've heard, had turned down the request by the chief's office.
Wow.
Go down there and take it. They went by, looked. They said, too dangerous, out of control. I'm not putting my guys in that situation. Yeah. Okay, so they called another one. Nope, not putting my guys in that situation. They called the 3rd crew. He sent their people down there with the National Guard. So Katie, following commands, they're like, all right, if they won't disperse, shoot some pepper balls. That'll put the OC in the air, and it'll irritate people enough where they'll go inside. She fired some pepper balls. At that time, one of the business owners that owned a barbecue shop right across the street from that gas station comes out and shoots a gun at him.
Whoa.
So the National Guard fired back and killed him.
Right. I remember this story.
Yeah.
And so just a couple of weeks ago, she was indicted on civil rights violation for shooting a pepper ball.
Whoa.
Because they said her shooting the pepper ball caused him to think he was getting shot at, and he fired back. Now, how they can know from a dead man what his thoughts were, shooting back at him.
Pepper balls do not sound like guns.
No.
Anybody who's gone to a paintball range and who's ever gone to a gun range knows, come on.
And that guy had video in his business, kind of like you have here, cameras all over. So he had some great angles, and you could see everything that happened. And our mayor would not release that until the media found out there was good video and pressured him, and then he released it, because everything they do is just such. He comes out and says, "Oh, we are very transparent. Transparency is the way to be," which it should be. You should be very transparent. If you're operating on the government's dime and they're paying you, there should be no stone uncovered. Everything should be wide open.
If you are a cop these days, right now, I'm telling you, you're going to prison.
Yeah, it's no good. They're head hunting.
Yeah. Look, we've seen all of these riots. Summer is around the corner. Summer is when riots pick up. I'm not entirely convinced it'll be nearly as bad as 2020. A lot of people were angry for a lot of reasons. COVID locked them down. People were on edge. We may see things get pretty crazy, especially considering it's an election year. We got the midterms coming up, and it's going to be serious. If Democrats lose the House, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, to all the cops out there, they're going to get called out.
Yeah.
They're going to get called out to a riot, and they're going to be given a reasonable order as it pertains to a violent riot of people smashing windows and burning things down. Something will happen. You'll go to prison.
And here's the catch-22 in that. I've sworn an oath to protect and serve, and as a citizen, I'm looking at the police going, "Why are you not acting when they're burning our stuff down?" Now they're being told by command. They follow orders. Unfortunately, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But they're following orders, and they're told to stand down. And a lot of them are looking at it now, what you just said, Tim. They're going, if I act, I'm going to prison. Screw that. That building ain't worth me going to prison.
Good.
So they're standing down. So now the citizens are mad at you because you're letting stuff burn. The government's mad at you if you do act, or they come at you. So it's a no-win situation.
Not too bad for the citizens. Too bad for the civilians who wouldn't say, "Hey, maybe it's reasonable that we have a police force that's going to stop people burning buildings down."
Yeah.
If they won't stand up for the cops that are going out just trying to stop rioting, well, then you deserve what you get. And that's cops being like, "Look, if you don't got my back, I don't got yours. I can't."
Yeah, I was just
well,
going
there
to say
you go.
that.
That's the city you get.
I think it's unbelievably horrific for a police officer to fail to do their duty, to fail to protect the people that they're supposed to protect. At the same time, if you're a citizen and you're lamenting this, ask yourself the question: if one of these police officers acted in a way which was justified to protect somebody else's livelihood and prevent their business from being burned down, and then they were placed on trial and the media was calling them a terrible racist, would you say anything? Would you say anything to the people at work who were calling that man a racist for trying to protect people? Probably not. No. I mean, statistically, probably not. So it's not just that police officers aren't doing their jobs. They certainly aren't. But nobody is. No one's standing up for the things they're supposed to stand up for. No one is standing up for civility.
This country's falling apart, man.
Well, it's like
we're here.
Yeah.
Our viewers are here. We're a community of people who care. There are a lot of people in this country who care, but there's too many people, even who they care about what's going on, are unwilling to speak up.
Mm-hmm. From personal experience, I can tell you, we've reached out to a lot of people. You're willing to have me on, other people are, but there's a lot of people who still do not want to attach my name to anything.
Can you
of
name them?
theirs.
Do you want to name them? You want to call anybody out? No, you don't have to.
No,
I don't want.
Here's what I'll call out. So we were supposed to go speak in Ohio. I won't give you the city, but we're supposed to go speak in Ohio in April, and they were going to use a training facility of this police department. And the police department was still charging them. Mm-hmm. They were charging them to use their facility. And once they put the flyer out and it showed my picture on it, the chief of that department said, "No, you're not using our training facility. He's not welcome here."
For just a training?
It's a support thing for spouses who go through critical incidents. And this group that was bringing us in is huge on bringing the community and the police together to try to merge them.
You know what I think is that we often talk about the problems of policing. I've certainly complained about the cops who are enforcing COVID lockdowns and arresting salon owners. But it's not a police problem. Like this particular instance, when this cop arrests a salon owner, that was a cop problem. The problem is just cultural and moral decay in the United States extends beyond the population and into police departments. So what happens is you'll get a dude he works maybe at an insurance company, and they're doing a bunch of, or how about this? He works at a Home Depot, And then Home Depot comes out and says, everybody, you got to do the woke stuff. I think this was in Canada they did this. And that guy says, I'm not going to say anything because my protecting myself and my assets is more important. I don't want my family to be sick or starve. Now, I can certainly understand that, but what that means is that the cultural and moral connections of our society are gone. Granted, that happened in Canada, but just an example. If you work for a company and you won't speak up, that for that same reason, neither will firefighters, neither will police, neither will politicians. Nobody would.
But that kind of goes back to your point, which you made a few minutes ago, where it's our job to protect the city, but you said you can understand why they wouldn't. But
well, this is right.
I understand, but at what point do you go, okay, no matter what my sacrifice is, I'm willing to go out there because I want change?
No, this is exactly my point. That when regular people aren't showing up to city meetings being like, look, we understand police reform can be done and there are problems people are upset about, but at the very least, stopping a riot should not be questionable. Right. But they don't do it. These people are going to be like, I'm not going to say anything because then they'll come and riot at my house. Yeah. And okay, well, then the cops aren't going to do anything. And you know what's worse? The cops are going to show up to your house when you're the victim and arrest you. You see that guy in Wisconsin? Yep. Guy was in his house. BLM showed up.
The McCloskeys?
No. Oh. In Wisconsin, a guy was in his house.
Yeah, so the guy.
BLM showed up to his house protesting. The same organizer organized a previous protest and that set fire to another house. So this guy brandishes a shotgun through his window.
As one should. I mean, if people are going to potentially burn your house down, that's not to be fair. I'm not giving people advice and saying you should do that.
No, I don't think he should have done that.
You don't think he should?
Nobody was going
on. You shouldn't point a gun at them, but I think to let people know that you're okay. Well, then no, you should
brandishing
not.
was he pointed the shotgun towards the window at the crowd.
Yeah, no, then you should not.
Done
you should not.
Holding it up, I'd be like, fine, whatever. But
yes.
Either way, you're in your own house.
Yes.
I have questions about. First of all, I can say don't point your weapon at someone unless you intend to use it.
Ever.
Unless you intend to use it. Yeah. That being said, if you're on your own property and you're holding your weapon, you know, there's questions there, but ultimately the real issue is the cops showed up, went to his house and arrested him to cheers from Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They cheered. The same group that wants to abolish the police was cheering when the police did what they wanted. They'll go into your house and arrest you. The McCloskeys are a good example, though. They broke on a private property, destroyed the fence. The McCloskeys came out armed on their own property as they're legally allowed to.
It.
She was pointing.
She was dangerous with it. She didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah, but she did point it. You can see her pointing at least one guy.
Okay.
And people thought this guy's boom mic on his camera was a gun. But hold on there a minute. A guy was holding a black object with a boom mic. Yeah, sure. In hindsight, you can tell it's not a gun. Did she know that?
No, the adrenaline's flowing.
Right. You got 300 people.
Even trained people, that's tough in that quick of a second to distinguish. Yeah. But somebody that's not trained coming out with that adrenaline dump and the fear, I mean, your rationale, it just goes away a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, you have to consider if you're in your house and you're with your family and there are people outside of your house who, as you mentioned, burned down a house previously. It's again, you should never, ever point a gun at people if you're not willing to use it. But for people to know that you have some ability to protect yourself is obviously a good thing for you and your family and your security.
If you're going to burn my house down, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, like, well, if someone's if someone tries to burn your house down, they should know that it's on the table. Like, well, if you try to burn my house down and kill my family, I will shoot you to prevent that from occurring.
You have the right to defend yourself from this violence and all this stuff. So here we go. What I'd like to say, you know, especially in the past several weeks, just name a story around Black Lives Matter and it was fake. Name a single Black Lives Matter story that wasn't fake.
Well, and they were all fake. I mean, this is
not true. I want to make sure I clarify. People died.
Yes.
There is obviously some things were done wrong or improperly, but the point is the media narratives coming out of all of these stories were untrue to some degree.
Yeah, and this is part of why I really want to dig into this is because as someone on the right and someone who's very skeptical of BLM and their narratives, part of what sort of convinced me on the Breonna Taylor case, and again, this is coming from someone who didn't pay as close attention to it as I did some of the other ones, is that, you know, even Rand Paul was saying that we should end no-knock raids, which I agree with, but he titled his bill after Breonna Taylor.
Justice for
Breonna Taylor. So to me...
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and we'll see you all there.